Hey guys, it's Andrea here with VW Family Farm, and you just saw our big hay barn is what we call it, but actually it has no hay in it, and that's on purpose. So you can see our tractor, we've got our farm truck, we got a few different things stored out here, hay equipment and things. This is right at our house, and it's literally just across the driveway. We were woken up a few years ago, it's been probably a couple years ago now, by some people that we actually knew. Thankfully, so thankful they saw something and they decided to stop and check it out. If you ever see something suspicious or, you know, fishy, dangerous, whatever the case may be, you could just be saving someone a lot of heartache and trouble. You could be saving their life. They actually were looking from the road and saw a fire starting, and I mean, it was going pretty good at that point in our hay barn. There was hay in here at the time, and it had started from a little heat light for some baby piglets. It was really cold outside, and we don't use those anymore for that very reason. We switched over to like heat mats and things like that. That's something you really should take into consideration when you are plugging up sources of heat, is how safe are they? What do you have around them? And what had happened was the piglets chewed the cord and started the fire, and it quickly caught on the hay because it's in a barn. It's dry. The hay is dry and very flammable, and it just took off, and it burned part of our barn, part of the end. Thankfully, it was a crazy experience. The couple guys that stopped, thankfully, they were getting off work really late at night, but they stayed and helped us not put the fire out, because we couldn't put it out, but at least try while we were waiting on the fire department to come. It was a crazy scene. Them and Ben, all three of them wound up having like some smoke inhalation and all the things, and it just really opened our eyes to the danger of fire. I mean, if no one had stopped, this thing could have been blazing. If no one had stopped at all, I mean, it could have eventually burned our house down, and we were all in there asleep. Really just opened our eyes to the danger of fire. So we need hay storage. And so this is my video to tell you we are not building a barn. So you may be thinking, you just said you need hay storage and that you have equipment stored in a barn. And you're right on both of those. We need hay storage, and we don't plan to put it in our barn. We need our barn for an equipment shed, worse than we need it for hay storage. Not to mention the fire really kind of scared us off from doing that. We've had neighbors have their whole hay barns full of hay burned down. Hay can spontaneously combust if the conditions are right. And a lot of people think, oh, that's just like a 1 in a million thing. But yet we actually know people that it's happened to. And that's a whole nother, fire risk. And so it's just not a risk that we're wanting to take. We don't want to build another barn. We don't want to spend the money. Prices are crazy outrageous right now for building anything, really. And you may say, well, it's come down. We did this affordably, blah, blah, blah. And while I'm not saying that you didn't, I'm saying as a general rule, things cost so much money right now. Whether it's, average and normal, I don't know. But maybe it's the new normal, I don't know. But all I know is we cannot spend the amount of money it would take to build a big enough hay barn. Not to mention, a hay barn is a permanent structure. So we would have that, where it is. We couldn't move that around. And our hay fields are kind of spread out. Our farm is a little bit spread out. Ben's grandpa, when he purchased this land, purchased it little bits at a time, and a lot of it is together, but not every single bit. And so it would be nice if we could come up with a solution that could possibly move and not always be in the same location. So you can see the hay behind me. We have got probably 450 bales of hay there. This has been a record year for hay for us. We normally go into winter with actually more cows than we have now, and probably about 350, sometimes 400 bales, and we make it work, and we supplement as needed because we just have what we have. on hay cutting. Maybe we have to sell animals, whatever the case may be. But I don't recall us ever going into winter with more than, say, 400 bales, maybe 450 once or so, maybe not even that many. This has been a record year. We've only gotten 2 hay cuttings. Here in Arkansas, sometimes we can get 3, sometimes even 4, and we've only gotten 2. If you've been around our channel, you know both of our kids got married this summer. We've just had to work around that. That was priority. Hay was not the priority. And so after we got the first one done, which was such a record-breaking rainy spring, everyone around us had trouble getting the first cutting done, because you can't cut knowing it's going to rain on it, because you'll get your hay wet. It's hard to get it dry. It's not impossible, but if you know rain's coming, it's just kind of silly to cut your hay. So finally got that done, and then we knew at that point that it was going to have to wait until after the second wedding. And that's what we did, and I feel like the Lord blessed it. We had a record-breaking hay cutting on both of them. We had about as much the first cutting as we did the second, and we wound up with 667 bales of hay. So we've tossed around the idea of selling some to, you know, recoup some money, because it's not cheap to bale hay and maintain equipment and all the things. But we've also always, in rotational grazing, had a goal, a dream, if you will, of putting up enough hay for the next year. That's kind of like a really good food security for your cows, and it's a really good management practice, because you never know what the next year is going to hold. So if you're always a year ahead, you've always got a little bit of cushion if you have a drought, which we've had record droughts in the last few years. If you have armyworms eat your whole farm, which we have had happen, just lots of things can happen. Cutting hay is not a sure thing just because you have land. So I think we've about decided we might sell a little, but the majority of it is going to be stored for the future, I guess you could say. I feel like this is our bumper year, and we don't know what's coming down the road. So you can see this hay behind me. It is what they call net wrapped. We used to do what they call string wrapped, and that's literally, you've seen me for years. If you haven't, go back and watch a video from a couple years ago where I was cutting the strings off. You get them all in your hand and pull them out from the bale of hay. That's what everyone used to do. It's kind of the basic way. People around us a few years ago, started switching to this net wrap. We held out as long as we could with not doing it, because when they first started doing it, you had to have like work done on your hay baler for it to be able to net wrap. You had to buy the net wrap. It was more expensive and all the things. But it's gotten to be kind of the norm. And a couple years ago, after the fire, we decided, instead of trying to build a barn, we were going to try to upgrade our baler. So for us, upgrading is buying something that's good, but it's used. We very rarely buy new equipment. We just simply can't afford it. And we've been working for years to get all the things bought that we need to be able to do this and do this the most efficiently. So we bought a new baler. It's a net wrap baler. That's what you saw back on those bales. That was kind of our solution, because it keeps the hay more protected from the, rain and all the elements and things. It keeps it a lot better protected than just string wrapped hay. So that was what we did at the time. We got the baler. It's been fantastic. It's kept our hay good quality. Now, I'm not going to pretend that it's as good as something that's stored in a hay barn under a roof, but it has done very well. In the past, we had a cow die years ago from moldy hay. So we wanted to, make sure that never happened again. The net wrap has made all the difference for us. Never regretted that decision. But if we are talking about storing hay for not just this winter, but a year and a half at best, if we use all of that hay next year, we're talking, at least 18 months of hay storage. We just decided the net wrap wasn't going to be good enough, and we don't want to build a barn. So I'm back here in our hay field. We are not done hauling hay. We're almost done. Hopefully one more afternoon of hauling and we will have all our hay hauled for the year, either up to where I showed you before, where we're going to be feeding out of, or back here. And you can see this is a pyramid shape. It's 6 bales to each pyramid, and then you just line them up. And so what we are going to do is buy what they call hay tarps. Now you can get these cheap, just like any old tarp you can get anywhere. They'll call it a hay tarp. But there is sure enough good hay tarps out there. You may have to spend a few $100s, and we may wind up needing 2 or 3 of these once we measure and figure that out. It could be getting close to $2,000 even. I don't know exactly yet. But for us, that's a much better option than a $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 big hay barn. So that is what we're going to be doing. You can see it's in the triangular shape. We'll be putting the tarp over it, and there are waterproof ones. There are different features on them that you can get that will shed the water off. They can be waterproof and breathable, which just blows my mind. And you put them on there, and the way that is shaped, it just sheds off of there and keeps your hay just as good as if it is in a barn. Actually better, because barns have ends on them usually, unless it's enclosed, and sometimes those get wet. Just lots of different things. I think it's going to be a really good option. It's going to be a much better cost-effective option. Now, I realize you might be like, that is still a lot of money. And yes, it really is. Everything about farming costs money. It's like you have to spend money to make money. And that's just, it's just no different than any other kind of business venture that you go into. You can see over there, Ben and I are looking at purchasing that tractor. Really, really excited about that. We've been limping along a tractor for a long time now, and it needs some work, and we can't go without one, and we've needed a second large tractor for a while. If we decide to purchase that tractor, that will be a chunk of money. So this is a way that we can do a more budget-friendly option and still store the hay. We don't have the tarps yet. We're not even done and don't have the tarps on. So you may be thinking, why are you showing an incomplete video? But I feel like there's a lot of you out there right now that had bumper crops of hay this year. And I just wanted to get the info out that there is things you can do to preserve it. We're in a very dry season. You can see the fields, they're kind of brown. And yes, we're hoping for rain, but at the same time, this hay is good and really dry and very, very good quality, because it's not had a lot of moisture in it, not had a lot of like rain on it even after it's been baled. So this is going to be perfect to store. And if you're in the same, kind of boat that we are, this might be something you might think about doing. And I believe that just like in the Bible, they had, bumper years or bumper times of things. And that was the time to store those up and to get ready, because hard times could be coming. And that is in the back of our mind that, hey, what kind of is over the next ridge? We don't know. For some reason, and I told you guys this on one of our last few videos, and Ben was like, yeah, I agree. Our second cutting of hay looked like just literally the hand of God had waved over our hay fields, because it was outrageous in such a good way how much hay we had and how much good quality hay, and how the timing worked out just to what we needed. So we don't want to waste that. We don't want to squander that. So look those up. I will be showing you specifically the tarp we get when we get it. We don't even have it ordered yet. We're working on that. We have no affiliate links. We have no companies we're working with. We're strictly buying this, ourselves. So I'm not like trying to talk you into buying anything. I'm just trying to give you an option if you are like us and you don't have the money to build a barn. I'll see you guys on the next one. I'm going to head out. I just love looking at that. It's really beautiful hay, and it just makes me feel good to know that the cows will be cared for this winter. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching, and God bless.